and welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish.
Oh, well, this week, I've just been really upset about a couple of things.
Oh.
One thing is, my mom had gotten me Taylor Swift concert tickets for an upcoming concert, and I wanted everything to be a surprise about her costumes and everything.
Yeah.
And I get right on Daily Mail, and guess what they have? All her costumes. All her songs. Yes, I could have skipped through the article, but it's like I had to go look through.
Then you already saw it.
Yeah, and I saw all the outfits. And then I got on Pinterest, and guess what was on there too? All the outfits.
Everything.
And then after I sent my mom, I was like, I'm so disappointed. I saw the things. She sends me more. She goes, oh, should I wear this or whatever? And it was one of the outfits. I was like, Mom, come on.
You're making it worse.
Oh, I was so disappointed. And then I saw TikTok too.
Yeah. I heard that on TikTok. I haven't seen a ton of that, but someone at work said, yeah, I don't even need to go to the concert because it's all on TikTok.
I know they're ruining it. I'm just so disappointed. And the concert I'm going to is later, but maybe she'll change some stuff up. I'm sure she will.
Say, yeah.
Still, I'm so mad.
It is disappointing. That's the thing about
social media and stuff.
Nothing is really a surprise.
No. And it's like, if it was a concert I wasn't going to, I would love to see it. But it's like, no, I wanted it to be a surprise. I'm so mad.
That is frustrating.
The other thing that was really bothering me.
Hannah needs to vent.
Okay. I know, like, Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But what's really making me mad is Justin. He needs to stick up for his wife, and it's really irritating me. Like, he has not said a word.
No.
And I think it was a concert recently or something. They were saying, like, something mean about Hailey. Still didn't say a word. Like, he needs to come out with a statement. I know he can't just respond to everybody, every little comment, but stick up for your wife. Like,
it's kind of ridiculous at this point.
Especially because she's getting hate because of you.
Right.
Come out and say, no, she did not steal me from Selena Gomez. This is who I want to be with. He says nothing.
And it's like, I don't know if him saying something would actually help.
But he still
should say something.
He should.
Obviously, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Like, maybe Hailey's saying, no, don't even engage. But from the outside, it seems like he isn't being super supportive.
No, it seems like he doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Like, she's getting all this hate because of you. Or whatever, however you feel about her, if you think she's a bully or whatever. There's still more before any of that stuff happened that he could have came out and just said something.
I will say, like, again, without getting into the whole new situation between them, but before any of this happened, like, everyone hated Hailey just because she existed and Justin was with her. Like, she didn't even have to do anything.
No.
So any little thing that she does that could even be taken as a dig at Selena is going to be picked apart.
Yes.
I mean, she could look funny at a picture of Selena or see her on the street, and it's like, oh my God. So I don't know.
I know.
I just feel, and I also just am annoyed at the fan base. Like, they've been broken up for a really long time.
I know.
He got married to someone else.
Yes.
Please let that relationship die. Like, why are you still holding on to this?
I know. Because he won't say anything. That's why.
But it's also like, I think that must be also painful for Selena.
That's
like,
how
to
I
constantly
feel too.
hear this.
I know.
Yeah.
And then they're like feeding her information.
Right. It's just bizarre.
I know. And it's like, if somebody brings to your attention that, like, even just the eyebrow thing, if someone brings that to your attention, like millions of people, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess she did say that about me. It's like, just stop.
Right. I know. And
let it go.
they've both come out and said, enough is enough.
Yes.
Like, I don't promote hate. I don't want this. But it's radio silence from the man in the middle of it all.
Nothing. It's like, come on. Like, I don't know. It does not make me think very. I know. Just a little something like, I love you, Ailey.
Yeah.
Anything. Like, it just really is irritating me. It's making me think really less of him, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
and I
over
mean,
him.
that's just us taking what we know.
Right.
But I agree. It doesn't look good on him.
Pathetic.
He needs to step it up.
He does.
He really does. Maybe he's great, at home being supportive, but we don't know that.
I know.
So.
No, and it's not her responsibility to go on, whatever, any interview and try to defend the situation.
Yeah.
It's like she did whatever. You can't, if he really was stolen by her, then that was because he let himself be stolen.
Right.
So that's what I have to say about that.
Enough is enough. I'm so tired of that narrative. It's never ending.
Yes.
And I don't know why.
I know.
Just keeping on the celebrity updates. I saw this happened I don't even know. Last fall, I think. Remember when there was that footage of Nick Lachey, quote unquote, attacking the paparazzi? Well, I saw in the Daily Mail today where the paparazzi woman is speaking out and saying, I still haven't received an apology. And apparently Nick was told to go to AA and anger management by the courts. And if he doesn't do this within a certain time period, then he could actually get charges brought against him.
Gosh.
And I was going to read part of the article, but I'm just no, I don't need to be that dramatic. But some of the quotes from this woman, what he did was not okay. He should not have attacked this woman in her car. I think attacked is actually a strong word.
I think he smacked her phone out or her hand
and he
or something.
should not have done that. Obviously, he let his emotion get the better of him, and he was out to dinner with Vanessa, and they might have had a few drinks. It was a heightened situation. But I just cannot, get on the side of the paparazzi. This woman was all I was doing was sitting in my car and zooming in and taking photos of them as they walked out of this restaurant. I do that all the time. I'm no, that doesn't make it okay.
I know, and it's creepy.
I know. And if he, because I watched the video and it looked like first he might have banged on her window or something after he saw that she was taking photos and came over. But it was just him saying whatever, knock it off, whatever he said. And then he kind of turned around, and that's when he reached for her camera because she was recording the whole thing, of course.
Right.
And he shouldn't have reached in and tried to grab it and knock it out of her hands. But you were literally there with the camera in his face.
Yes.
How can you? And then she's so dramatic saying, well, if his punch would have landed, I would have been knocked out. No, I watched the video. He did not throw any type of punch.
No.
It was not that forceful.
No.
I just don't. I don't care that you do that all the time. It's ridiculous.
I don't just let some of these people. They are still people. You can't just, if someone is taking a creepy video of me,
right? I'm
I'd be creeped out. I know.
Yeah, and if they tell you to stop, then just say, okay, apologies.
Right.
I'll leave you alone. Have a good night and stop. Don't keep recording. Don't try to take more photos. Just leave it at that. And if she would have done that in that moment, then nothing would have escalated probably. Right. And if it had, then I would have been more
on her side
with Nick Lachey. But I just saw, and it's this whole, she's just looking for her 15 minutes, getting an interview with the Daily Mail. And honestly, shame on them for covering that.
I know.
But it just is so frustrating. And I feel like obviously we don't deal with that. So I guess it's not like frustrating in our own lives. But why are we still having this problem, I guess?
Yeah, and even when like Kanye West has gotten in paparazzi's faces and stuff, and he's never had to go to like anger management.
Why does Nick Lachey have to go to AA and anger management? So we're saying he has an alcohol problem and an anger issue.
All to just make this go away. You have to do all this stuff. That is crazy.
Yeah, so that was just annoying to me. And I just couldn't, I mean, you'll have to look at the article because some of the quotes in there from this woman were just absurd. Like, all I was doing was stalking them and then taking unsolicited photos. What's the problem? Like, do you hear yourself?
Nothing wrong. And I get like, okay, you're a woman and a man. Comes to you.
And I'm sure she did feel a little scared and threatened in that moment. But I don't think that you should expect a handwritten apology from this situation.
And even I remember some of the video where it was like up his face.
Yeah, like she was that close. Yeah.
It was just crazy.
Through the whole thing, she kept recording. I know. Like, come on. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And I guess the last thing about celebrities before I move on. I feel like we just have to mention Black China because honestly, I'm just impressed with her right now.
Right.
I've never particularly been fond of her. I just felt like she was just a very like fake person as far as physically.
Yeah.
A lot of enhancements. But I really appreciate that she's taking everybody on this journey of getting her fillers removed and getting like any enhancements reduced that she had before. Like, I just find it so refreshing and real.
It is. I think it seems like a lot of celebrities too are kind of coming out and saying like, this stuff isn't as good as you thought it was. Like, I know some girls have come out about the breast implants and having all these health problems and having to get them removed. And it's nice to see, like, the not so glamorous side of stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it can be dangerous. And we've watched enough episodes of Botched to see how it can go horribly wrong for people, or when people who are like us want to get our breasts done and we go to Mexico because it's cheaper, like how dangerous that can be. But then there have been a lot of like women that have come forward and said like, no, I didn't get mine done in a back alley. Like, and I still ended up getting sick. Like, what do they call that? It's like toxic something. I can't think of it. When your breast implants make you sick. Like, it's an actual thing. So I'm interested to see how she will end up looking after everything's done.
And like what that recovery is going to be like.
Because we've only really known her and seen her
looking the way she looks.
So it'll be interesting, but you know, kudos to her.
Yeah,
that's good of her.
Interesting.
You also recently celebrated a birthday.
I did.
How do you feel?
Old and worn down.
Hannah turned 30.
30, flirty, and not thriving.
30, not flirty, and not thriving. That's the way I feel. Although I'm not 30 yet. I'm almost there, but we don't need to talk about that. But
I went and saw Scream 6.
As you do.
Yes. Me and my husband got to have a little date. Actually, it worked out. We had a babysitter for a couple hours. And we went to Barnes & Noble, and we did that thing where you, like, pick out books for each other and then pick one from that selection. And then we went and saw the movie. Because, of course, I got the movie time wrong because...
Oh, no.
I can't think straight.
Like
so we had extra time. to kill, so we did that.
Yeah.
And it was fun. But speaking of, well, Courtney Cox was in it.
Yeah.
And she did good. It was nice to see her in it. But speaking of Courtney Cox, I finished Matthew Perry's book.
Oh, yeah.
And it was sad, like you would expect. Like, he talked a lot about his drug problems and stuff. But the one thing that kind of threw me off was that he didn't talk much about friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or like his relationships with any of them.
That's interesting.
I know. Like, I mean, he didn't even really, he just said, like, Courtney Cox was, just wonderful and lovely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was his TV wife. And he really didn't say anything. And I get, because then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, he was having alcohol or drug problems the whole time he was on that show. But, I mean, he was on the show for 10 years and he almost had nothing to say about any of them.
That is so weird because in all the press that I watched with his book tour thing, a lot of it was focused on friends, which I guess that is what interviewers asked him about. But I thought for sure he would have said some stuff.
There was not much about it at all. I mean, I figured the book was mostly about the drug thing, but yeah, he didn't say much. And the only real overly nice thing he said was about David Schwimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it was his idea for everybody to have the same pay.
Oh.
And he, like, really credited it to him for making all the money that he made. But other than that, I mean, he didn't really say anything that nice about Matt LeBlanc.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, and Jennifer Aniston, it was like, he knew her before.
Yeah.
Whenever I had a crush on her, blah, blah, blah. But then he, like, is all weird about it. Like, I'm sure there had to have been good relationships there over the years. And, like, he says that, but it's like,
he didn't really, that wasn't a focus.
No.
That is
was
odd.
Just, I know, I thought it was weird.
It was sad watching some of his press tour. Like, when everyone was focusing on friends, and they'd be like, oh, let's show this clip. Let's show this clip. And he's like, when I watch that, I am really sad for that person. He's like, he's like, you can tell where I was with sobriety based on my weight in the show. And so, like, I don't even remember what episode they were focusing on. He's like, yeah, there, like, you can tell I'm really thin and I was struggling with alcohol and whatever drugs. And I'm like, I guess it probably isn't so fun and happy-go-lucky for him to look back and reminisce on that time.
No, not at all. Didn't even his whole career. He says a couple times, like, like, I don't know, the video store worker. Like, I wish I would trade lives with them just to not have this addiction problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like he really struggled with wanting to appreciate where he was. And I feel like he was just trying so hard to sabotage it all the time. And I mean, it was a sad book, but I felt bad for it. I really did.
I do too. But it is sad. Like, think about, like, where Jennifer Aniston's career went from that, where, like, Courtney Cox, her career, and even, like, David Schwimmer, like, he ended up having, like, a resurgence, like, in more recent years. And Matt LeBlanc had that other show. Like, I just feel like he could have been on par with everybody. And he did have opportunities that he
sabotaged. And he said at one point, his, like, people were telling him, you're going in for these, bookings or whatever, and they want you to look like a 25-year-old. You look horrible. Like, you need to get it together. You're not going to get these jobs. So the funny he said, though, was when he was working with, I think it was The Whole 9 Yards. Does that sound right? I didn't even know he was in that. But with Bruce Willis, and he said that he just had, like, this little, like, hotel room, and then Bruce Willis had, like, the whole one floor, and that he called it Club Z. And he had like a disco ball.
Wait, Bruce called it that?
And they would just like party up there, and it was just really funny, the story. And I was like, what is this? I wish Bruce Willis could have wrote a book, but he seems like such a character. He's come up in a lot of celebrity memoirs.
I'm like so sad about Bruce Willis right now.
It is sad.
Like I just saw some posts about his birthday.
I know.
Like it is just heartbreaking.
It is. And it just seemed like it just all of a sudden, I mean, we obviously don't know him, but it just all of a sudden happened.
I know. Well, and there were the signs like previously where it like came out a while ago that he was having trouble or whatever. But then I agree, like from that point, we're like, okay, he's getting older.
Right.
But then they actually give a diagnosis. And now it's like not even that much time later. And we see these videos of his birthday. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Like this is so sad to watch. And it's progressing so quickly.
And to even think too, he's like isn't he 68?
Yeah, he's not even that old.
I know. It's crazy, though, that Bruce Willis is almost 70.
Well, that's like literally when I'm watching this happen and seeing this stuff with him, it just is making me feel sad about like all the celebrities that we know and love.
Aging. Yes. Yeah, like, and they're like gonna pass away.
I know. Like to me, like the true movie stars.
Yeah.
And that they are older now, and like it's not going to be the same when they're no longer making films or when they pass away. Like Hollywood's just not going to feel the same, I don't think.
No. I mean, we were even talking about Rachel Bilson, and I was like, she, not in a mean way, but she just looks older, and she's 40. I looked it up then. She was 41, and it's just like, she's a teenager, though.
I know.
Or like in her early 20s on the OC.
I know.
She can't be all of a sudden 20 years later.
I know. It's scary.
I know. I can't talk about it. Speaking of turning 30.
I know.
No.
But speaking of turning 30, actually, I had a woman who is the cashier at Trader Joe's give me some really nice thoughts about 30s. And I bought like a bottle of wine and I had to show my ID. And then she made a comment like, oh, only 2 more months. And I was like, oh, don't talk about it. And then the poor little teenage bagger was like, oh, well, you can just renew your license online. And I was like, no. I have a big birthday coming up. I felt so defeated in that moment. But then the cashier, she was probably in like her 40s, I think, maybe mid 40s. I'm so bad at judging age.
I know, me too.
But she was like, no, she's like, my 30s were the best years. She's like, that's when everything just fell into place for me. And I felt like I got things really figured out and like my life was really good. She's like, my 20s really just felt like kind of a mess and just me trying to figure stuff out. And like, she just gave me so much hope for my 30s. And it was just so kind. I mean, everybody at Trader Joe's is so kind. We've talked about that before. That's like our oasis. But like, what a kind thing for somebody to say.
I know. And it does make you feel better. I know. Like, I do hear a lot that 30s are supposed to be really, really good for women.
Yeah.
And, I was telling you this before, but Brett's grandma was like, oh, 30s were just so hard for me to turn. She's like 40, 50, everything else was fine. But when I turned 30, that was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have a really hard time with it.
I know. It's just a number, though.
I know.
Because you're 29. You're still in your 20s the day before. That's the way I was thinking about it. Last month, I was in my 20s.
I mean, honestly, though, with COVID, we
got cheated.
Are actually like 27.
I know. So, we got cheated out of some years.
Yeah, it's not fair. But yeah, it was just nice of that woman to say those things. And it's just encouraging. And not that it's like, oh my God, like I just don't want to get old. It's all about vanity. Like it really isn't. I think it's just challenging to realize that you're getting older and the years are just going by. Like, I just find that really difficult.
I know. The hard part for me, too, is everyone else around me is getting older.
Yeah.
It's like the older I get, the older they get. It's
and
like,
I really don't feel old.
No,
you know?
I still feel like a clueless 22-year-old.
And I don't feel... I mean, I feel the same as I did when I was in college. Like, I don't feel like I'm I'm more mature. Just, I understand things better, have a better sense of myself. But, like, I don't, as far as age, like, I don't feel like I should be turning 30.
No.
I'm just like, where did all those years go?
Literally. Like, it feels long, but also short.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It is weird.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
This makes me uncomfortable. And then it's like, we are going to have to say, like, no, I'm 30. I'm 31. Like, 20 blank just sounds so much better. I could be like 27 forever.
I know. I feel like that's a good age.
Yeah.
I did decide, though, that I'm not going to keep track anymore. It was like I turned 30.
About how old you are.
And it's just, who cares?
So you're going to be that person where they're like, oh, what's your age? You'll be like, well, 93.
Well, 2023, I turned 30, so
how many years ago was that? Oh, my God.
But, well, every year's 30 from now on.
I'm going to make every year be 29. That's what I'm going to do.
There we go. You just never get 30.
I'm like literally shriveled in the corner. No, I'm 29.
There's a thing I had to like fill out birthdays, and I filled out Brett's, or my husband's, birth year, but I didn't put mine. I'm like, nobody gets to know.
No one needs to know
you know, the month of the date. And
they don't need. That's what I appreciate. This is random, but just thinking about that, I don't know if every pharmacy does this, but I know at CVS, like I used to work there, and when you go to pick up your prescription, and they ask for like your name and stuff, and then they only need your month and day of your birth, and I always appreciated that so much, because I'm just like, I know it comes up on the screen and it tells you the year, but to find a person you only need month and day, and I'm just like, how kind of the CVS people.
You have to remind me that I was born in the 90s.
Or you don't have to say it, like Well, we don't really have a great transition, but
we wanted to talk about being an only child, because we are both an only child.
Yeah, we are both our only children, and I don't know, it's not like that's something that's super rare. I think back maybe in our parents' generation, it was more rare to be an only child. Like, just people had more kids, I feel.
You're having like 10.
Yeah, but now, well, I don't know about our parents or maybe the generation before. Who's having 10 kids in this economy? No. But yeah, I don't even like thinking about my friends now, or people that we even went to school with, though. Like, there weren't that many only children.
I don't come across only children like at all.
Yeah.
Or at least my age.
Yeah.
I mean.
It's more common with like younger, like the generations below us.
Right.
I don't know, but I think it's an interesting topic to discuss.
Yes, because there are other only children out there.
And we haven't really talked about it between ourselves before.
Haven't. It's never been anything we ever talked about at all. I mean, I have step siblings.
Well, that doesn't count.
No.
I mean, it does. Obviously, they're like...
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. It's not... I don't think it's the same.
I know there's no blood bond there, and I don't even know what that feels like.
But I feel like I do, because I can imagine it.
I know.
You know?
I can imagine that it's probably really good.
Me too. I feel like it probably feels amazing to have someone just... I think that for the thing for me, it's the shared experiences.
Yeah.
Like, you're lives aren't going to be exactly the same, or the way that you perceive situations or the emotions you feel about it aren't going to be the exact same, but you have the same parents, you lived in the same house, you went to the same family functions, like you have
vacations.
all those, yeah, or like just somebody to be like, oh my gosh, remember when Uncle so-and-so blah 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 blah, like we never had that.
My husband has 2 siblings, and they'll like be reminiscing, and their parents are reminiscing with them, and I'm literally just sitting there like, I literally can't even relate to this at all.
And I feel like when that happens, I mean, I'm sure that your mom does this. I know like my dad, if like my dad and my grandpa are together and they might say something about when I was younger, when I was like a baby or whatever. It's like, okay, cute little memory, but it almost feels awkward because it's just me.
Yeah, and it's like you guys remember it, but I was either too little to remember it. There's like no one to really share that memory. You're just being told that memory.
Right. It feels so... I mean, neither of us really like a lot of attention in that way. So it feels to me like I just feel uncomfortable sometimes with that. I am always told by people that I don't seem like an only child, which I don't know if that's like a compliment or a diss.
I know, it's like, what are these stereotypes of an only child?
And I think
you don't have?
It's probably like, oh, the spoiled, rotten kid. But I don't know if that's even reality. I feel like that's more of the movie or TV show perception. And I didn't come from like an overly wealthy family. So, but I don't know. I think being an only child just made me a lot more independent.
Yes, I was telling you the other day that I feel like you have big brother vibes or like older brother vibes. I don't know why.
I wish I had an older brother. I lived with my cousin at one time, which he's younger than me, but well, like really close. I think we're like a year apart-ish. And it was so fun. Like, I just imagine, like, what would our life have been if he was my brother?
Right.
Like, how fun.
Into mischief
and
together.
Like, just doing stuff with him, and he, like, wanted to do things with me. Like, we would go to the movies all the time. Like, it was so nice. I'm like, wow, like, I have someone who's, like, here for me.
You're right, and, like, a relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed my time with my cousins too, but even my mom's sibling doesn't have children, so it's only my dad's siblings that have children. But it was just nice to be around like kids that are your family.
I know.
Like, it just feels good even though they're not siblings.
I do have a lot of cousins. Like, I have like blood. Like, they're all blood, obviously. I don't know why I said that.
That's all right.
Like, some are like my actual first cousins. Right. And then others are more extended. But they all kind of live farther away where I only see them like maybe once or twice a year. So it's like, when we're together, it's great and it's fun. And it's so, especially when we were younger, it was like, we all can just play together and it's amazing.
Right.
But then, now, like, they are older too, and we don't see each other that often. And it's just, I think it's harder to fully connect with their lives because, like, even with your cousins, you're not fully intertwined in their life.
I know. I think about that a lot too, just with like family get-togethers. Like, we'll still get together for certain holidays and stuff, but it's like, at what point do we stop? Because we have our own families and it's starting to get distance. And when our parents pass away, that's like our connect
I think about that too.
Yeah, it's like, will I ever see them again?
I know. And it's sad because this is like going a little bit off of our main topic. But when I was younger, like my grandma and her siblings, like they all lived in the same, well, most of them lived in the same town and like very close to each other. And then for Christmas, we would always meet at like my grandma's brother's house, and it was everybody, like all of her siblings and then their kids
Mhm.
and then the grandkids. So it was a packed house, and we would do that on Christmas Eve. But then once, my grandma and her siblings got older and then they eventually passed away, like we just completely stopped doing that. Like no one, and now the only time that I really see those people, unfortunately, is at a funeral. Like we really don't get together, which it is hard because people have
other families that they want to see.
But it's like the main family connection. And this is just me generalizing about our family experiences, and I'm sure others are way different, but I don't feel like it's as strong as it used to be with like our grandparents or great grandparents generations. Like
like they prioritized that more.
Yeah.
Even like with weddings and everything, it was like you had to invite all the extra people. Now you almost have no relationship with them to the point where you're not really inviting these people.
Invite them? Yeah.
And it's not a priority anymore.
I know. But that's not fully about being an only child. But
kind of though. We don't have siblings.
No, we don't have
to
the
do
sibling.
That with.
I thinking about like being independent. Like we talked before about how we both really value our alone time.
Yes.
And one thing that I guess I really like about myself that maybe some people who have siblings like don't really feel confident to do is that I have no problem doing things on my own.
Yeah.
Like I can go to the movies by myself. I can go out to dinner by myself. I can travel by myself. Like I don't have any problem with it. Like I like going with friends and doing that stuff, but I'm comfortable going on my own because I'm used to being able to, I'm used to doing that and used to just doing my own thing. And I think that a lot of other people feel really uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah, it's probably because they always have people around. Like you always have your siblings at your house, your parents and everything. Where, if our parents went out on like, I don't know, just went out. It was just us home.
That was just alone. Yeah. The silence was deafening. Is what's sad though. Like when you do have like family in town for holidays or something, and if they were staying at your house, like I've had that happen for summers or Christmases, and then when everybody leaves,
I know,
like that emptiness.
It's like,
it's so sad.
It really is sad because there aren't, those siblings or anything to always be there.
Or just you don't realize how much you kind of like the noise. Like the sounds of people or just people having conversations or just the sound of people walking around or clanging pots and pans. Like, and then when it's all gone, you're like, whoa.
I know. I wonder if people with like big families and stuff feel the opposite. Like what I would give to have a day just
peace
alone.
And quiet. Yeah, probably. I think it is hard though sometimes, like as much as I do value being alone and being independent, it would be nice to have somebody around. And I think that's kind of why, like part of the reason why we did become close friends.
Right.
Because
we have that bonding over that.
Right. And, we see ourselves as sisters, but we're not. And like it kind of sucks because like we kind of feel like it, but then we both would go home to different houses and
like not even like a step sibling thing.
I know. But I don't feel. I guess I don't. I mean, sometimes I feel kind of lonely. I think growing up, I felt that more so, where you have the envy of like, oh, well, they have their brother or sister to always play with or talk to, and I don't have that.
No. I agree. Or like, I had my step siblings and stuff, but they, they didn't really do much with like my mom's side stuff. And obviously not at all with my dad because it's from my mom. And it was just like weird sometimes where it was like they were there and then they'd go to their mom's. And then it was like some weekends they weren't there. And then when they weren't there, I was like, oh, now I'm bored. Like, what do I go do?
Right. How did it feel to get step siblings?
I mean, it was weird, you know. I was a little bit, I don't know if you'd say older or younger, but I think I was like in kindergarten. So I had, you know, what, 5-ish, 6 years of just being alone. And then you're just like thrown in with all these siblings that come and go.
Yeah.
But I definitely did feel very like misplaced a lot. Just because I wasn't the blood sibling, and it was tough, you know, not to harbor old feelings, but I was told that I wasn't even really part of the family.
And that's such a kid thing to say, too, you know?
But I do remember being like, well, I kind of really aren't like a part of the family. Yeah. You're right.
But so that's awkward to feel that way.
I know. I just felt very misplaced. And I think probably some step siblings, I don't know. I feel like it could go either way where you're like really close to really not. And I feel like there's different periods of my life where we were close and weren't close. I remember some of the most fun I had as an early 20-year-old many moons ago was when me and one of my step siblings both moved back home.
Oh, yeah.
And like the shenanigans we would get into. And we were both on the same schedule. Like we were both working like an afternoon shift. So we had a lot of fun. It was literally like stepbrothers after they start getting along, like just doing these crazy shenanigans. And that was a really fun time.
Yeah.
But I do think as you get older, that's when you really start to crave those sibling connections because you hate them your whole life growing up. And then all of a sudden you're both doing life together and you just have like a new appreciation for siblings and you start to just be in the adult world together. So I do feel like now, because I feel like not having siblings didn't bother me until recently.
Yeah,
and
I don't agree.
know. Yeah, it was like I was totally fine with it. It didn't bother me at all. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because I had a second child and I'm like seeing this bond, but I literally don't know what it is.
Yeah, I feel that though. Like there were definitely times when I was a child when I probably felt like lonely or I wish I had a sibling, but it didn't. Like it hits different now. I think
it does,
and it seems like it's because now I almost like want to have the like opinions or like maybe even validation from somebody else who is like my blood, my sibling, when we're going through similar things. Like, hey, like, can I run this by you? Like, you were in this situation similarly. Like, what do you think? Like, I want to hear about how they handled situations or their thoughts on things going on in my life. And obviously, like, we can have that together, like you and I. But I don't know. It's just different.
I know.
And thinking about, too, like, stuff with our parents. Like we're the only ones that are there to like do things for them or help them as they get older, or even like now, just like random stuff with our parents. Like it's only us. Like it doesn't matter how far away we live.
That's a good point though. If you are having like an issue with your parent, there's nobody else experiencing that with you to talk about, get your feelings out. It's literally like if I vent to my husband or something, it's only my perspective. Which doesn't necessarily mean it's the right perspective.
And sometimes it's like if I talk to you about something that happened with like my dad or something. And I'm so annoyed. It's like I wouldn't really care if you did this, but I could see where it could be like uncomfortable or like you don't want to say like, yeah, well, you know, your dad can be like that. Like, whereas if it was your sibling and you both shared the same parents, it would be fine. Be like, well, yeah, but don't you remember like mom did this with me or she's always acting that way. And you're not going to feel offended. Like, I wouldn't feel offended if you said anything. But at the same time, it's just different. Like, I would never say it to you.
You don't live with them.
I know. So that's That's something I didn't really think about until just now.
And like we were saying too, like when they're older, we're the only ones who are going to be dealing with all that stuff, making all those decisions. I mean, I'm sure they'll have like wills and stuff, but it is like intimidating. Like, okay, I'm going to be in charge of all this stuff.
Or like, how can I even trust myself with that type of responsibility?
I know.
Like,
and there's no one else to go to. Like, it's literally you. Or, I mean, if you have a significant other, but even then it's not their parent.
I know. Ooh. Yeah, it's weird. I think when you brought up about your kids too, because now you have two, and seeing their little sibling bond, like even though, you know, one's a baby, it'll grow more as they get older. Right. But I think the bond is a little more one-sided right now.
My older son loves a little too hard.
And the baby just like can't do anything about it. But it is just like, you know, that they are, even though I think that the two of them will have very different personalities. Yes. Like, you just know that they are going to be like close brothers.
Yeah,
like,
I can already tell now. I mean, I'm sure there'll be phases, but it's just nice that they'll always have each other. We don't have that.
I know. And I don't have kids, but like when I was younger, I'm always like, I want a big family. I want a big family because I didn't have that. Yeah. So I just always wanted to have like a house full of kids and having that like experience that I never had. And I wanted to have like just the sibling experience for my children. Like, I can't imagine being an only child and then having just one kid.
I know.
Like, I cannot even imagine that.
I know. Me and my husband kind of go back and forth about our third child. And I feel like he comes from a different place because he had, you know, 3 siblings and they were all wild and crazy together and stuff. And he's like, does not want to be overwhelmed like that. Where I'm like, no, let's keep them
Bring it on.
I want kids. I want a bunch of grandkids around if they decide to have grandkids. You know, it's like, I want that.
I know. I think with my Nana, she had like so many kids. She had like 6 kids. And then they all had, but really all of her children only had like 2 kids, like on average. But then now, like all my cousins, they have kids too. And my one cousin, like she popped out 4 kids, like right away, 4 under 4 she had. It was wild. And then my other one, like he has 3. And then my other one has 3, another one has 2. Like there's so many children around. Right. Like there always were so many kids around. And I think like my Nana loves that. There's so many of us. And that's just really nice. Whereas like my grandpa, like for the longest time, it was just me. Like I was the only grandkid. And then my aunt had 2 children a little bit later in life, but it's like he only has 3 of us. And my Nana has like literally like 50 flying around, and then he just has 3. Like it's
that's how my grandma and grandpa are too. I'm the only, or my mom's side, I'm the only grandchild. And I mean, there wasn't any other kids until I think I was like 26 when I had my first one. That was the first like baby.
Yeah, that is so... That's just different.
I mean, I definitely loved it with my grandparents because I got so spoiled with love. But I do feel sort of bad for them. Like they only had one. And they get to. My grandma really enjoys, you know, having our kids, but it was like, man, I bet she just sort of was like,
I know.
I wish I had more kids.
Even though like your mom got married and you have your step siblings, like. Really, that didn't have a lot to do with your grandparents.
No, it didn't. And I definitely think part of that was like their other parents' issues and stuff. But I mean, it didn't get to ever be this
like that close of a bond. Yeah.
Or even with my step grandparents. I mean, yeah.
That was just different, a different
Yes.
relationship than with your grandma and grandpa. Yeah.
But I think on the other side, too, there's some families where the siblings don't get along at all.
I know.
And it's torture and they hate each other. So I guess there's
pros and cons for sure. I don't think I would want to be in a insanely huge family, like a family of like, I mean, I think 6 is even a lot.
That's way too much.
But like, I guess with my dad's family though, like they're spaced out in age pretty decently.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're spaced out a little bit, it's like easier to manage, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just think it's a lot. Like even for me as an only child, like when I'm with my whole family, I get overwhelmed sometimes because a lot of them have big personalities.
Yes.
And then me just not being used to that environment, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't.
Just too much.
Yeah,
too much.
like I'm overstimulated. But yeah, I would think like to have that huge of a family, I would not like anything over like 5, I think would be. I think 4 is a great number.
Yeah, I think 4, 3, 4. I mean, that's good. But yeah, with all those different personalities, or even like, my son was like an only child for a few years, and again, an only great grandchild. Yeah. And even with my cousins on my dad's side, I'm the only one with kids right now. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. I'm the only one in the area with kids right now.
Yeah.
And when I'm around my step-siblings and all their children, it's like I could see my son just like kind of clam up a little bit at first because there's so much going on that he's just not used to.
Yeah.
And I've definitely felt that way too.
Yeah.
Where you're like, whoa, this is overwhelming. I'm not used to this. And then when I watch like the Kardashians and stuff,
yeah,
it's like I'm so jealous that they have like all these siblings.
Me
and
too.
All these nieces and nephews. And I do get jealous. Although there's a lot of toxic parts in there
for
too.
Sure. But I get the most jealous of their family gatherings.
Yes, with just all these people around, all these kids around, and it just looks so fun where our family gatherings are like, well, going over to the grandparents with just me.
What's new? Nothing since I talked to you yesterday.
Literally.
I know. That's like sometimes it's nicer to have more people around because there's more opportunities for conversation. Yeah. And it's not like, we just sit in silence.
Right.
But sometimes it is just like, okay, like I really don't have anything that I haven't already told you about. Right. Like I don't know what to even talk to you about right now.
Literally, and there's no one adding anything else because it's just another run-of-the-mill day.
Right.
I know when with my husband's side of the family, well, his work schedule doesn't really allow us to hang out with the extended family as much, but they get together all the time. And that was kind of an adjustment for me because I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why are we celebrating every single person's birthday? But we do that in my family, but there's only a couple of people.
There's not a lot of people.
And it was just a really hard adjustment. And one day I was like, oh, like, that's what they do.
You
just not
have a
used
bigger
to it.
family. Yeah. Yeah. I think when you said like with your son, you could see how he's just like clammed up. Yeah. Like I think though, for me, and maybe for you too, because we talked about this in a previous episode, I feel that it has made me to be the good listener that I am now.
Yeah.
Because I would be really quiet and a little bit more reserved in some of my family get-togethers when I was younger and even sometimes now. But it is because I'm just like taking everything in.
Right.
And I'm listening and I don't always have a comment to say. And I'm definitely not the loudest voice in the room.
Right.
But I think it's made me a very good listener now, which is a great treat to have.
I know, I do. I agree with that. I feel like we've never had to like try to compete for, attention, whether that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like when I talk, I'm listened to all the time. Yeah. So it's like I don't have to overdo it.
Right.
Where someone in a family with a lot of siblings probably does have to feel that way, and they're loud. And,
Yeah.
and where I can be like, okay, I'm going to let you talk because that's fine.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. You are kind of competing for attention, and not even in a negative way. It's just like,
it is that way.
There's more people around and you have to be a little bit louder sometimes. Overall, though, I mean, I would say that I have enjoyed being an only child.
I know. I think for the most part, it's so fine.
Obviously,
and
we can't change it.
I know. And I have you.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of pros to being an only child, too.
Yeah, there are. It's just a different experience.
It is. And it's fun that we all have diverse experiences going on
I
here.
know. I think that we would be doing everyone a disservice if we didn't talk about the mid-season trailer for Vanderpump.
I know. Just to touch on it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I am very interested to find out how that was edited together, because some things, how they just piece things from different scenes and it makes it look a certain way. Like, there definitely is a lot of drama and emotion.
Yes.
That's no doubt. But some of the scenes, I'm like when Ariana said, like, what did Sandoval say?
He was like, do you need anything? And she goes,
for you to die. Yeah, I'm like, was that really like the context of that
I know, like, really, he just asked her for a glass of water and she goes, die.
I know. Which, Team Ariana.
I know. But you know what, Tom?
I was like, whoa, that was a lot.
That was intense. I was listening to Lala's new podcast episode today with Katie Maloney on there.
Well, I'll have to listen. I didn't see that yet.
They didn't say it like a whole lot, honestly. It's not like a writer, or you didn't miss much. But they were saying that this season was crazy even without.
Yes, I heard that too.
So who knows? I know in the trailer there's a part where Raquel was like, I don't regret our relationship, but that might not even be about the Tom Sandoval thing. That could be totally something else.
Yeah, and the scene in the trailer where Tom Sandoval is like ducking down in bed and kisses. Yeah. I'm like, is that Raquel? Because I honestly could see that being Raquel.
I know. I think I was watching something that was talking about that, but a lot of people do think it's Ariana because she had a pink sleep mask.
Okay. See, I watched it on my phone. I didn't zoom in.
Right. So, but still, it's like, they're letting you to believe something.
Well, and we know that they kissed for the cameras.
Yes.
So, I listened to finally that Jamie All Over podcast, which you had talked about in a previous episode, but it was really weird to hear from their perspective. I know, like Kale and Jamie, because it made me be like, oh, they are real people. Like, these are real friendship. It was just a completely different perspective.
It was, and just to think that they're, we have the characters on the show, but they have actual lives that they're always living, and they have other friends that were also affected by this. It was kind of crazy just to hear that perspective.
I agree with Kale that I think Raquel/Rachel is actually a very smart person. In a way, a smart person in terms of getting what she wants.
Yeah, she definitely this is, I think
she knows how to put on an act.
Yeah, to get what she wants. Or maybe she wasn't always like that, but she definitely is taking advantage of it now. It's just the whole thing's crazy, and I can't wait to watch the reunion.
I know, me too. I can't wait for the rest of the season.
I know, it's supposed to get really good.
Well, we have to update you guys every time.
All three listeners. Yeah, we have to update my mom about it.
Yeah. My dad, who also listens, even though he does not know anything about Vanderpump. Shout out, Dad. So to wrap up this week, we have our recommendations.
Yes.
I want to recommend, I don't know if this audio sounds any different. I can feel the disgustingness in my throat. And I sound a lot better now than I did all with the help of Throat Coat.
Love Throat Coat.
And I wish that I looked up the brand today because at work I had a cup of tea because I left a lot of my tea bags there and I forgot. But it's, I don't know, some nature or something brand, and love it. It soothes my throat so much. And if anyone is having issues with just sore throat or allergies, definitely pick up some of that because it is so good. Add a little honey in there.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, perfection.
Have you ever had one of those, I think they call it medicine balm tea thing?
I get the immunity tea at that local juice place.
Oh, is that the, where you put like the lemonade in there?
No, they just make it themselves and then give it to me. But I think, can't you buy that at the store, what you're talking about?
I don't know. I just went to this tea thing and they had, where it was like you took lemon tea. Actually, I can't remember what it was. Never mind. We put like lemonade in there, honey, and I think maybe mint tea.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it was delicious.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe I have to get the
that
wrong
helps
one.
your digestion too, then, man.
I do like, I think it's called Yogi.
Yeah, they have great teas.
Yeah, they have a good throat coat. I would just drink that sometimes when my throat wasn't.
Because it's just delicious.
So
That's
good.
what I
That
do
licorice.
when I go to our local juice place. I get that immunity tea like literally every time I go. I just love it so much. And I just feel like this time of year especially, it's nice to just have a little extra boost.
Yes.
So I guess that was like multiple recommendations.
Try all tea.
Yeah, all the teas.
Well, I'm going to recommend, because it was my birthday, I wanted to throw back and get a Dairy Queen ice cream cake.
Oh, so good.
And I think everybody should get those again because it was good. It was so good. It was just as good as I remember. Like I remember in like middle school and high school, I think that's all I wanted was those DQ ice cream cakes. And man, oh man. Oh, so good.
My favorite part was always that fudgy layer and then the crunch in there. Oh, so delicious.
It was. I just love smashing it all together, mixing it up, eating it like that. And then whatever the frosting type thing is on there is just so good.
Not that it lasts long, but the good thing about an ice cream cake is that you can enjoy it for longer.
Yes, it's like it won't go stale.
Yeah.
You could throw it in the freezer, get a little bit out at a time. I will say it did not last through the weekend, but it could have.
Yeah, it easily could have, but like you want to eat it. So
yes. Just do it.
Why would you save it?
I could eat my feelings when I turn 30.
You deserved it. Okay, well, thank you for listening. And find us on Spotify, anywhere where you listen to your podcast. We also are on YouTube now.
Yeah, so if you want to, we will be hopefully uploading a video version of it soon. Yeah. So
stay tuned for that and make sure to check out our TikTok because that's the primary place where we promote ourselves.
And we want to get better at TikToking. It's probably a little cringy, but you know what? We're getting better at it.
We're not the right generation for it, so give us a break. All right, well, thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.